Getting your project ready for output to tape is actually very simple. It's very straightforward. But the options you'll choose depend partly on the hardware you have with your computer. If you are using additional capture card hardware to connect to your video deck using, well, maybe you'll have something with an SDI connector on it or whatever your deck is, you're going to have some specific additional settings that will be in the documentation with that hardware. It's usually just one option or another in a menu and making sure you're using the right kind of sequence preset. But you'll need to check the documentation with that hardware to make sure you choose the right options. Luckily, it's one of those things where generally it either works or it doesn't. So you're going to be in very little doubt about whether you've got the settings right or not. But let's say you are just going to output using the Firewire port on your computer or the IEEE 1394 port on your computer, and you're going to output to DV or HDV. Essentially, all you need to do is make sure in your sequence, here I've got a sequence open, make sure that you don't have any of these red lines. Let me zoom in a little bit here. These red lines indicate that Premiere Pro does not think it is going to be able to play at full frame rate and full quality with this media. So in terms of preparation, it's just important that you go to the sequence menu and choose something like Render Entire Work Area. And this is going to set off rendering any frames that need to be rendered, and you'll find that this red line is replaced by a green line. There we go. In fact, you can see in my sequence here, because I chose Entire Work Area rather than the alternative, which is Effects in Work Area, Premiere Pro has rendered all of the clips that required any extra work to play back. And in this case, it's all of them because they're all encoded using a really intensively compressed format, H.264. If you're using a media that's not captured or stored in a codec of that kind or a format like that, then you won't even have the yellow line that I had along the top. The important thing is not to have any red lines. Green is good, yellow is fine, but red is bad. Once you've rendered, in this example I have, and you've checked that you've got your playback quality set to full, you're ready to play out to tape. If you set your playback quality to a lower level, then your playback isn't going to be at full quality, which might be absolutely fine if you're just in a hurry and you want to produce a rough output of the project so far with the effects, just to get it out there and hand to somebody to take a look at. But do make sure that you've got your playback quality set to full and you've got no red lines on the timeline if you want to get a full quality master tape. If you're exporting your project to a file rather than to a tape, it really doesn't matter what condition the timeline's in, because Premiere Pro can, there's a tick box to choose either way, and by default it will, just use your original native untouched media files and combine them fresh with your special effects to produce the output file. So it doesn't really matter if you can't play it back or not. Premiere Pro is going to use the original full quality media in any case. But at this point, provided my hardware is set up and I don't have any red lines on the timeline, I'm ready to output and produce a master tape.